Hey there, Mountaineers! Welcome to episode 11 of Historyland. I'm Matterhorn Matt, and in this episode, we'll be talking about Disneyland's canceled land, Discovery Bay. Let's get started. When you look at the attraction Big Thunder Mountain in the Magic Kingdom, Disneyland Paris, or Tokyo Disneyland, you've probably noticed how amazing the design of the mountain is. Many of you may not realize that the mountains were modeled after Monument Valley in Arizona, but have you noticed that the Disneyland version is different? Rather than being modeled after Monument Valley, Disneyland's version of the ride is based on the hoodoos of Utah's Bryce Canyon. These designs were not done by accident, but on purpose by Imagineer Tony Baxter. Think about this. When in Frontierland, you're supposed to feel like you've been transported to the 1860s Old West, when prospectors discovered gold in the mines of Thunder Mountain. And for all we know, the miners there simply settled into town and spent their winnings, right? But what if they didn't? What if they instead continued their westward journey and found themselves along the coast of California? Then, imagine if the prospectors settled into San Francisco, right as it became known as the Paris of the West. What if they created San Francisco as an international coastal city for explorers, artists, and scientists? A golden seaside port of technology, cogs, hot air balloons, steel, and wonder. Welcome to Discovery Bay.
Coming up next, learn about Disney history with Matterhorn Matt on Historyland.
No time to say hello. Bye. Everyone's on the go.
I'm late.
I'm just about me.
I thought you were taking Mikey. Boy, do we need a vacation.
Take time to be together. Share a smile. Play a while. Feel the nights. See the lights. Set yourself free. Together at Disney. Together at Disney.
In 1970, Tony Baxter, fresh out of college, became an Imagineer. He had previously worked part-time at the theme park throughout high school and college, and worked his way up. As soon as he was hired, he was sent to work on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction in the Magic Kingdom. He then fell under the wing of Cloud Coates, the Imagineer who helped design the Haunted Mansion, among other things. It was a strange time in Imagineering, with people coming out of college with fresh ideas, but it also never worked alongside Walt. But Tony had a unique perspective of the park. He had grown up with Disneyland and had worked inside the park, whereas senior Imagineers could not have done. Around the same time, Frontierland was beginning to lose a little bit of its luster. See, Frontierland was designed and built in the heyday of Davy Crockett and the Lone Ranger, but by the 1970s, Westerns had fallen out of the public's interest. And Tony Baxter was challenged to bring life to the land with all new attractions. Enter Discovery Bay.
Discovery Bay is kind of a once-only place in time. It's a Victorian place that occurred at the turn of the century. It's the kind of place that Jules Verne or H.G. Wells might have inhabited. So you'll actually be able to, for instance, board the Nautilus and have a very elegant meal down below the water while you're being serenaded on the pipe organ and looking out at all the scenic wonders of the ocean floor from those overhead windows. This is just one of the adventures that might go into here. There's, like I said, a flight on an aerial suspended monorail system that looks like a dirigible, and a time machine. So that's one of our key excitements for the future.
Discovery Bay would have been all steampunk. Along the shore of the rivers of America, a tall lighthouse would draw people in from Frontierland and Fantasyland, acting as the land's weenie. Along the shore would be the Chinatown district of the port, where Chinese immigrants built a wharf similar to the Pacific Wharf in California Adventure. Here you can find the Fireworks Factory attraction, which was meant to be a shooting gallery but later changed to a dark ride, where riders launched fireworks along the factory's assembly line. Docked in the rivers of America, guests could walk through the Nautilus, where scenes from the film are visible. The Nautilus would have also been home to a full-service restaurant in the Grand Salon. An attraction named Professor Marvel's Gallery of Wonders would have been similar to the Carousel of Progress, and would star an inventor named Professor Marvel, with his pet dragon, who showed off his collection of animals, experiments, and inventions to the guests. Just outside of the town would be the Western Balloon Ascent, which would have been a Skyway-style attraction, taking guests to the nearby Dumbo Circus Land, which was unbuilt, in hot air balloons. But the main icon of Discovery Bay was the Hyperion airship. Docked in a mechanical hangar at the edge of the river, this would house the new e-ticket attraction, The Island at the Top of the World, themed to the 1974 film of the same name. This would offer guests, quote, a trip aboard a fantastic flying machine to an island of paradise located at the top of the world, unquote. Even before the land opened, there were plans for expansions to the land, including 2 roller coasters and a boat ride. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad was also planned to be a part of Discovery Bay. Originally, Discovery Bay was meant to be an expansion of Frontierland, but it blossomed into its own land. Officially announced in 1976, and a scale model of the land was built to display inside the Preview Center on Main Street. But due to budget constraints and bigger projects, the future of the land was in jeopardy.
Up next, learn about Disney history and more with Matterhorn Matt on Historyland.
In the year 2000, how old will you be? Who can do the math? You'll be my age. I wonder what you'll be doing.
Back then, you couldn't imagine you'd be at Walt Disney World, still feeling like a kid. Come be part of a year-long Millennium celebration you'll never forget. Just call 1407-WDisney.
We'll be too old to do anything. Celebrate the future, hand in hand.
One of the reasons Discovery Bay was never built was because the movie, Island at the Top of the World, performed badly at the box office, and got lukewarm reviews. Another reason was the construction of Epcot Center and the all-new Tokyo Disneyland. Priorities shifted away from Discovery Bay and toward the bigger projects. And the final reason that the land was axed was the fact that the taste in movies of the public changed. No longer did people want to see fantasy movies about Jules Verne, but instead they wanted to see action-adventure movies like Star Wars. There really is no one reason Discovery Bay was canned, but all hopes for the land coming back faded when Disney announced Star Wars Galaxy's Edge that would take up the planned space for Discovery Bay. And even though the land is no more, many elements survived into other Disney projects, such as, of course, Big Thunder Mountain, Discoveryland in Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Sea, and Professor Marvel being recast as the Dreamfinder, and Figment from Journey into Imagination. But even though the land was scrapped, many guests will remember the influence it had on Disney parks worldwide. And that's the history of Discovery Bay. I hope you all enjoyed this episode and learned a lot. I know I personally did, because before this I really didn't know a lot about Discovery Bay. And I hope I conveyed everything to you guys in a clear way, because for me it was kind of difficult to understand all of the main points of the land. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Would you rather have Star Wars Land or Discovery Bay? I'm going to save my answer to that in the next episode of Matterhorn Mondays when I talk with Alex. And tune into the next episode of Historyland, and I might have a coupon code for my merch shop hidden in the video. If you haven't already, go listen to the latest episode of Matterhorn Mondays where Alex and I talk about the new parking structure and hotel. It's interesting because adding these on the, I keep forgetting which side, on the west side of the park, it's basically creating a new primary entrance to Disneyland, because before a lot of guests would enter through Harbor Boulevard, but now there's more incentive to park in the new parking structure, and all the people are going to be staying at that hotel anyways, and so guests would enter from inside downtown Disney rather than Harbor Boulevard.
Right. One of the biggest things that was the problem with the Eastern Gateway project was that the city was very much against it because, well, I mean, a few reasons actually. One of the biggest ones was that a lot of the businesses on Harbor Boulevard were against it because they felt like their businesses would be bypassed by this overhead bridge project that they had it planned to go over Harbor Boulevard, as well as the fact that a lot of guests would have to walk a little bit longer of a walk to get to the Eastern Gateway, which would be located behind all these hotels. But at the same time, I was all for the Eastern Gateway project, but like you said, this new project that Disney has decided to do, it requires, because it's on Disney property that was already owned by Disney, and it doesn't extend over any other property, especially not over any public streets. This project basically is it's Disney's run of the whole project. They can do whatever they want.
Links will be in the description to my Patreon and Twitter, and as always, see you next time, Mountaineers. Have a great big beautiful tomorrow.